Top strangest unsolved mysteries and murders. Everyone loves a good mystery. We've listed a top few of them. 1. Lois Duncan's daughter. Are you familiar with Lois Duncan? You might be, without knowing it. The popular young adult suspense author wrote books like I Know What You Did Last Summer and Killing Mr. Griffith. In 1992, Lois wrote Who Killed My Daughter? About 18-year-old Kaitlyn Arquette Duncan's daughter, who was shot to death on July 1989 while coming home from a friend's house. The night she was killed, she told Lois that she was breaking up with her live-in boyfriend, Dung Nguyen. She warned her not to tell Dung she'd be at her friend's house. After the incident, in the hospital, a friend of Kaitlyn's told Lois and her husband Donald that Dung Nguyen and his friends were involved in an interstate insurance fraud ring that Kaitlyn had threatened to expose. With the help of private investigators, Lois and her husband learned more about the crime ring. Despite the evidence, the Albuquerque Police Department refused to follow up on any of the Duncans' leads, possibly because, according to Lois, the crime group was linked to a small group of rogue cops. As of 2004, the Duncans came to the clear conclusion that Kaitlyn was killed because, unfortunately, she just knew too much. The police wrote off the case as a random drive-by shooting. 2. The Black Dahlia. You probably know her best as the Black Dahlia, but Elizabeth Short earned the nickname after being the subject of one of the most famous murders in our time. Things were so terrible with her corpse that the woman who found it, Betty Bersinger, originally thought she was a discarded mannequin. Short was killed on January 15, 1947, and the story was so newsworthy that more than 50 men and women have confessed to the murder. Newspapers began receiving personal items of Short as proof. However, they never figured out who really did it. Sources say that reporters were the ones who made the crime unsolvable. By gaining so much media attention, actual evidence was trampled on. In fact, numerous tips from the public were never even passed on to police, as the reporters who received them were more excited about breaking the story first. 3. A Rain of Seeds. In 1979, Roland Moody, out of Southampton, England, heard a strange noise on the roof of the conservatory attached to his house. Upon further investigation, he learned it was seeds that were showering down from the sky, small mustard seeds, to be exact. The next day, Moody had a similar experience with corn, pea, and bean seeds falling down over his garden. The strange occurrence only hit 3 houses in Moody's neighborhood, and nobody was able to identify why. This happened 25 times, and produced 5 pounds of edible beans. This story doesn't include the murder and excitement of the others, but it's still super weird. 4. Amelia Earhart. We've all heard of this amazing lady pilot, but her disappearance is still quite a mystery. Born on July 24, 1897, Earhart became the first female pilot to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean. Not only that, but she authored a few books, and inspired other women who had a similar love for aviation. In early 1936, Earhart started planning a flight around the world, and Fred Noonan was chosen to be her second navigator. When the flight took place, vocal transmissions from Earhart were lost on Howland Island, and both voice and Morse code transmissions failed to reach her. Sporadic signals were reported for 4 or 5 days after they had disappeared, but none brought any information as to where Earhart and Noonan were. The pair were searched for until July 19, 1937. Earhart was declared legally dead on January 5, 1939. Numerous theories have emerged since Amelia's disappearance. One being that she changed her name and identity, and moved to New Jersey. Others involve way more technical terminology. 5. The Zodiac Killer. Between December 1968 and October 1969, 4 men and 3 women were murdered by an unknown killer who operated out of Northern California. The suspect was only known by his pen name of Zodiac, which was noted in letters that included 4 cryptograms, only one which has been solved. While the case is inactive, it's still open, meaning that despite happening such a long time ago, police are still hunting down clues to catch the culprit. The killer claimed that each of his cryptograms would reveal his identity, and also demanded that the letters be printed on the front page of the Vallejo Times-Herald, the San Francisco Chronicle, and the San Francisco Examiner, and if they weren't, he'd continue his killing spree. When the papers printed the letters with a sidebar saying that they were unsure if the letters were a hoax, the killer wrote back with intimate details of the murders. Communication continued for a while, and more murders were reportedly linked to the killer. There has been little proof to positively identify anyone to the crimes. 6. D.B. Cooper. This might be the weirdest mystery on the list. In 1971, a stranger that's now known in the media as D.B. Cooper hijacked a Boeing 727 aircraft between Portland and Seattle. While he checked in as Dan Cooper, it's been noted that this was probably a fictional moniker. D.B. boarded the plane, ordered a drink, had a cigarette, and then passed a note onto a flight attendant stating that he had a bomb and demanded money and parachutes. While he got everything he asked for, he was said to be a complete gentleman throughout the entire process, even tipping the attendant for his drink tab. Some have assumed that D.B. didn't survive after parachuting off the plane, but since then, numerous people have sent tips to the police claiming that their relatives might have been the infamous D.B. One of the more notable accounts was Kenneth Christiansen, reported by his brother Lyle. Christiansen enlisted in the Army in 1944 and was trained as a paratrooper, and bought a house with cash after the hijacking. After being diagnosed with cancer, Kenneth told Lyle, "There is something you should know, but I cannot tell you." The Christiansen family discovered a lot of unknown money from Kenneth after his passing. Another possible suspect was named in 2011. A woman named Marla Cooper claimed that her uncle, Lynn Doyle Cooper, was planning something suspicious the day before the flight was hijacked, and came home wearing a bloody shirt. 7. The Mothman. First sighted in 1926 and heavily reported on in 1967, the Mothman was first spotted in the Point Pleasant area of West Virginia. The first report on the creature had the headline of various newspapers. Jerome Clark, a ufologist, interviewed numerous people after the initial event, all who have claimed to spot the Mothman, with comments like, "It seems like it doesn't want to hurt you. It just wants to communicate with you." So what's this Mothman look like? A lot of witnesses said he resembled a large bird with red eyes, while others claim he was a flying man with 10-foot wings. Common belief is that the sighting was really of a sandhill crane that migrated out of its migration route. One thing that the Mothman has over other possibly fictional beasts, is his own museum. The Mothman Museum and Research Center opened in 2005. What are some of your favorite unsolved mysteries? Please like and subscribe and click the bell icon to get new video updates.